Wow, if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you've played or at least watched the ending of Little Nightmares 3, and oh my, it's amazing. The whole game on just its own is a solid entry into the franchise, and with everything stacked against them, you have to give it to Supermassive Games and of course the Bandai team. They did a fantastic job. So this is a very early spoiler reminder because there is lots we're going to be talking about in this video, especially in regards to Alone, and there's going to be many topics that we touch upon that you might not have yet experienced or played or read through yet. So again, there's your spoiler. Just be warned, we're going through nearly all of it. Okay. Oh, and of course, if you enjoy Little Nightmares content and love theory crafting and videos like that, discussions and things like that, make sure you hit subscribe because I cover Little Nightmares extensively on the channel. I've been doing it for the last 7 years. So if you enjoy Little Nightmares and it's your current hyperfixation, make sure you hit subscribe. So Alone. A lot more than just a name now, isn't it? Let's quickly recap the ending of Little Nightmares 3. So after fighting the last boss in the Institute, which we assume is Otto, little bit on that in another video, we see the Institute crumble around Lo and Alone, and of course Lo and Alone fall, and as they fall we get a little homage to the ending of Little Nightmares 2. After this we see Alone catching and holding on as tight as she can to Lo as they fall from the height and inevitably to their death. In this shocking sort of event, something very interesting happens, and again this will be highlighted further as we get into the video because there are a lot of little nuances like this that sort of you see throughout the game but you don't really piece together until the end, and again that's what I think makes it so impactful, and again it's so well done. Alone grabs Lo and holds as tight as she can as they both fall to their death. Alone once again risks it all to keep her friend safe as their hug tightens. The music fades and leaving us with the realization that they both may never leave the nowhere. But in an interesting turn we see that Lo wakes up in a panic holding on to a doll. Very out of focus, but I think you know what I'm pointing at. Definitely not Mono. It definitely won't be Mono. And of course, it looks very similar to Alone. And well, to cut to the point, it is Alone. Lo has woken up in the counties, and it looks to be on a type of ward in the Institute. Now, it's up for debate whether Lo is still in the nowhere at this point. I personally like to think that he is trapped inside the Institute in the real world. Lo sets down his Alone doll and runs over to where he stores his drawings. 3 colours, 3 pages. It's safe to assume that these pages correlate to the chapters in which we've played in Little Nightmares 3. Lo is literally drawing out their adventures together. Lo then brings the crayons and paper to Alone, and then at this point she's real and she is of course moving, and they sit and they draw together. And at this point, like I said, Alone is alive again, and this makes me believe that this is one of the reasons they are still in the nowhere, and that argument does kind of make sense. But I actually further believe that it is the imagination of Lo we're perceiving, and again we get a unique perspective because we are the observer of the story. We are seeing what's intended to be shown through us for Lo, and this is how he experiences this story. So in short, we are literally seeing what he is imagining in those moments. The camera fades to black and they sit on a bed as they draw. As the camera fades in from black, we can see that Lo has damaged his mask, and of course he is without the mask. The illusion that we once understood that Lo put up this facade and protected himself with Alone's companionship is now broken. We know that that's not the case. We know that Alone is just there before Lo. It's a coping mechanism. Both injured, they move through what's left of the corrupted Doctor or Otto and approach a mirror, the final mirror, the one that's been highlighted to us from the very beginning. This is Lo's destination. Lo touches the mirror and it all turns silent, like he's softly focused on that connection between him and the mirror, isolating everything outside of that. He holds out his hand for Alone, but Alone seems hesitant, very self-aware. She is scared of the unknown, a destination she has no desire to go to. She only knows to support Lo. That's her own goal throughout the whole experience. It's just she's there for Lo. She is a comfort, a grounding technique for Lo. We can see from the animation that Lo really tries to comfort and persuade Alone to come over to join him. But it's not until Lo grabs her hand, and that's when Alone decides to move forward. Again, hesitantly, but still moves forward. They both look up at the mirror, and Lo leads them both through the mirror one last time. But Alone is thrown back into the nowhere, leaving Lo on his own in the real world. For some reason, she can't escape the nowhere, but we do have an inkling of why that is. We see Lo on the other side grasping for whatever he can, trying to reach through, and at this point it's actually very sad. It's very touching to see his desperation come through in such a horrible sort of visualization. The mirror breaks and it crumbles and the light fades. Alone, seeing this, knows that it's not the only thing that's going to fade with the mirror. As she looks down at her hands, she braces herself. She lets out a gasp and disappears, fades from the world of the nowhere. And at this point, I think, was the real dagger to the heart. And we see the drawing that was supposedly a map was just really Alone was able to leave with Lo, and they would be happy outside of the nowhere together, more importantly. And that's where it closes, the story. And of course, it is absolutely gut-wrenching. Now, Little Nightmares 1 and 2, yes, the stories were sad, especially if you're considering the ending of Little Nightmares 2 and, of course, the DLC with the gnome. But this one hits you a little bit harder. I think it's designed this way on purpose. And mainly because it's a cooperative experience. And there's such emotional investment there. And, you know, say you and your friend have been playing the whole game, you've been laughing, you've been having fun, you know, you're none to the wiser what's really going on, and then suddenly you get the rug pulled from you at the end. It really impacts that sort of abandonment or being alone feeling for one or the other player. And again, I think that's tailored super well, and it's translated super well. Even when you're not playing two-player, I think it is an absolute gut-wrenching scene. So what's going on here? Well, the short answer is simple. Lo created Alone while he was spending his time in the Institute. The time Lo spent between sessions in the Institute, Alone was created, an illusion by Lo to never be alone. And we can sort of see hints of this throughout the chapter 4 as we go through the Institute's broken down version, and the doll provides a little bit of comfort and grounding, and then you can see what it used to look like and how Lo could deal with those moments with Alone by his side. It's funny, the name now seems so fitting, and you know what's funny? We often, I highlight this quite a bit, because in this artwork there was only ever Lo was listed, as in literally it just spells out Lo on the toys, but there was never no mention of Alone. And I believe that's what we have our answer for that, because Alone never existed. It was all from Lo's perspective. It was all Lo's creation. With that in mind, it kind of explains a lot about why we don't know much about Alone in that regard, other than she just wants to help Lo. She wants to support Lo. Alone is Lo's comfort. This is why when we pick up the Alone doll out of Lo's room, we can see with clarity. Things make sense, how everything looked before. And this explains a lot of little scenes in the Little Nightmares. And for instance, when the kin and the mini-kin capture Alone and Lo, it's always Lo who's in the crate. But that's why it's always Lo, because Alone can't be seen. Now, yes, you could argue, because gameplay-wise, Alone does get captured. That's gameplay. That has to happen because, of course, it's part of the experience. But strictly speaking, the story, it tailors well. And again, it's why I think when we see Alone and Lo fall, Alone is the one to grip as tight as she can to really support him and to hold on tight while he does fall into this despair. But here's where I think it could get a little bit more theory-centric, and so bear with me. So we've got the basic explanation. This is very much, yeah, that's yes, that is it. That is what's going on. That is very black and white. Job done. But what if I told you that this wasn't just by Lo's design? Now, this again is theory territory. We know in a lot of Little Nightmares media that a deal has to be struck in the nowhere. And of course we know this because of the ferryman. I believe the deal that was struck with Lo is that the imaginary friend he was imagining in the Institute to keep him safe, comforted, warm, that friend, that imaginary friend, could become real in the nowhere. And this was the deal Lo was dealt by the ferryman. And this, I believe, is what enticed Lo more than anything to actually go to the nowhere. Go into the nowhere, find Lo, and get her out so they could be together, be happy friends, have a happy ending. But you know, it's Little Nightmares, so that's not happening. But we know this can be done. This illusion can be created. And I believe, like I said, there was a deal that was made. Alone was going to be real in the nowhere if Lo joined them. And thus he did. And then from that point forward, they were always looking for a way out. A way out to be happy, a way out where they could live together. And I think this is also really highlighted by the sort of secret ending, if you will, after the credits, because we see Lo so alone, just in his like dilapidated sort of room that's whatever's left from his departure from all that time, because again we don't know how long he's gone for as well. So that room he's gone back to might have been there for many years, and you can see the state it's in. And I think that's a real vital visual key. It's showing how alone Lo is, and to bring Alone out of the nowhere to where Lo lives, that would have been perfect for him. And I think watching Lo at the end trying to put the mirror back together in a desperate attempt to find Alone again is so heartbreaking, considering what we just saw and what they went through, and especially considering his goal in the end. And I just think it's fantastic storytelling and perfect for where we sort of want the direction of Little Nightmares to go. And I just think at some point we're going to see the ferryman. I feel like the DLCs are going to show us how Lo's desperation is going to lead him further into the nowhere, and he's going to lose himself further just to find Alone, just for it then to end similar to how the original comics were. And you know, he finds Alone and then he discovers that ultimately it was just part of the bargain that he made with the ferryman. And it's also interesting because I do think that Lo is getting to be a strong candidate for Ethan. Now, again, if you haven't listened to the Sounds of Nightmares, please do so. It's chock full of little goodies. And of course, Chapter 5 is my favourite, no bias. But I will talk about that in a different video, because I feel like there is some good information in there that we can go off. But I do think there's a strong suggestion that Ethan could be linked to Lo, considering how a lot of the Little Nightmares 3 and the Sounds of Nightmares is collectively colliding with each other in these little bits of information, like the achievements, for instance. The achievements have a lot of lines from like the Sounds of Nightmares and things like that, and we saw lots of hints in the level itself about it. So I think there's a lot of correlation happening, and I just think they're setting up for either the next DLC or where it goes next for Little Nightmares. But anyway, that's my explanation of the ending and, of course, Lo and Alone. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you think I've missed anything. If you want me to explain anything or have any ideas that you would like me to try, please let me know in the comments below. Of course, we're going to be doing lots and lots and lots of Little Nightmares content going forward. Of course, I've got lots of little theories I want to talk about now, especially with the release of Little Nightmares 3. And of course, if that intrigues you and you do like Little Nightmares content and want to see more, please hit subscribe and hype the video. I don't know about hype, it's new, isn't it? But with that being said, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories. I always like having a good read, especially when it comes to people's creativity and connecting dots and dots, and I find it really interesting. But with that being said, have a lovely morning, day or night, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next Little Nightmares theory video. Bye!